Hey everybody, aloha. My name is Danny Ihara. Today we're going to talk about securing trust and probate listings. So this is an area that we've been working on, gosh, for about 19 years now. And we built a very large business just around a main lever of the wealthy older adult. A little bit of my background, as you mentioned, I am the leader of KW Real Estate Planner. It is one of the newer communities, faster growing communities. We have over 525 members today, and we're traveling all around the country, training and educating and elevating our knowledge base of all of our members, as well as our KW family. Um, I am the CEO of the Ihara team. I'm still in production. I go on listings. I signed two yesterday, and I'm also the number one team in Hawaii. I've been really blessed to be part of Gary's private mastermind group since I came to the company 12 years ago. And I've learned so much from so many smart, kind, wonderful human beings that allowed me to stretch myself and grow. And I suggest that you too, they say you become the average of the five people you surround yourself. Find five people that are running before you. I am a MAPS coach. We're talking today about the group coaching class called Securing Listings with the Wealthy. That'll start up in May very soon. And if you're interested, you'll have a chance to register for that as well. I am an investor in two market centers, one in Honolulu, one in Maui, and I surf every day when I can. Today I couldn't because we have you. So I do surf every day. Um, all right. So what's our goal today? I want to share with you what the opportunity is in this segment of the market. Then we're going to talk about what's the real problem that folks have, and then what are the solutions that you're going to be able to provide to them. That when you provide solutions, you get business in the area of trust sales and probate sales. And finally, the last thing I'd like to do today in the next 30 minutes is inspire you to take action, right? Let's just not get educated. Let's go to implementation and execution of some things that might help you. All right. So, what is the opportunity? Well, there's over 11,000 people turning 65 every single day. It's a massive number of people. About a third of the population are baby boomers. And you can imagine 73 million people are baby boomers today, and actually much more than that. Unfortunately, though, what's going to happen in the next 12 months is 2.1 million older adults are going to pass away this year, and 80% of them own real estate. That's going to take us to approximately 1.68 million people that might consider selling in the form of either a trust sale or a probate sale. The other side of the coin is there's 2.2 million older adults that are going to retire. And when they retire, what do? They move on, right? They sell their home and move to another environment. These are opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, that most of the real estate world has not really focused on. Right? For it's over 19 years that we've been doing this, and this is the only lever we have. We've closed over $1 billion of real estate, almost 1,500 units under one lever. It's the wealthy older adult, because they're going to have challenges, their families are going to have challenges, and we're going to provide solutions, which we have. Now, NAR tells us that almost 60%, 59% to be exact, are all listings are baby boomers and their parents. So my question is, where are you shopping for listings? Where do you put your time, money, and effort to get listings? Is it a 20 and 30-year-old, 30 and 40-year-old, or is it 65 and older? You see, if I'm a gambling guy, which I'm not, I'm going to go towards where those listings are, right? And this is the baby boomers and their parents. Fortunately for us, this is all I know. This is what we did from 19 years ago to now, and we've perfected it. We've mastered how to attract these listings in a really meaningful way. The other thing that you want to know is that 39%, almost 40% of all buyers are baby boomers. Huh, that's interesting. Why is that happening? Well, because the 20 and 30-year-old who wants to buy a home today, they're struggling because of the interest rates. And those who have a home and want to upsize, they're struggling today because they don't want to leave their 3% to go to 7%. Those guys are not selling, ladies and gentlemen. The people that have to sell are selling. So what does that look like? From the investment side, believe it or not, there's 44 million households that are rented in America today. That's 34% of all homes in your marketplace are rentals. A third of them. So what if you could focus on finding these people? Like, who are they? Again, it's going to be the baby boomer and their parents that have the vast amount of them with equity. And once you find them, the average landlord owns 3 properties. Hmm. Wow, that's interesting. So if I could find the landlords that have all these properties, the guy's going to have an average of three. I wonder if they'd consider selling if they had equity and if they wanted to do certain things with it, right? So what are their problems, right? Well, the first question I'd ask you is who owns these rentals? Again, we don't know. We don't believe it's a 20 and 30-year-old. It's not 30 and 40. It's the older adult, right? And then what you're going to find is when you talk to a 65-year-old person or older, maybe up to 90 years old, right? They've had their properties for a long time. What that means is they paid their mortgage off. They have no debt, right? So if they did a 1031 exchange and they wanted to sell something and buy something, guess what? Now they're a motivated seller and a motivated buyer that's buying in cash under a specific time frame. And many of them today are concerned about the kids fighting, right? Because we've all heard of families who fought over real estate after mom and dad died. And later on today, we're going to show you how we solve that problem. And they just want a stress-free life. What an older adult wants is they want freedom. They want freedom from the stress, freedom from the taxes, freedom from the tenants, freedom from their kids. They want freedom. And when we understand what they want, we go and help give it to them, provide opportunities for them to reach their goal, to have less stress and more freedom. So here's the opportunity. Can you imagine that because of the size of this generation, we're going to have the largest transfer of wealth that the world's ever seen ever before. In America, there's going to be $70 trillion going to be transferred upon the passing of somebody, right? And what's going to happen then? The next of kin who gets that property, it's either the baby boomer or their kids, because it's the baby boomers' parents that are passing away, and some of the baby boomers are passing away, and now their kids are having it. What do they do with it, right? And they just showed up with $70 trillion of wealth, of which a good part of that's in real estate. What are they going to do with it? Well, they need a plan. Well, most of them don't have one, right? So the question is who do you know that specializes in trust and probate sales? Probably not very many. And we started doing this years ago because people were passing away and people said, shoots, mom and dad's gone and I'm the successor trustee and I don't know what to do. So much so that we started a class called I'm a Trustee, Now What? Interestingly enough, tonight I have that seminar. We do this every month. It's called I'm a Trustee, Now What? We fill the room with 30 to 35 people and we walk out of there typically with 4 to 8 appointments. And each person likely has 3 to 5 properties. Right? So you can see how the model is proven for us. I'm here in our marketplace. While I do listings and I do strategy sessions, I don't do them all. We have a team, and I'm only here half of the month. I'm traveling the other half of the month. So I go 3 seminars a month, and I fill the books with appointments, and then I do them, and then I leave, and then I come back and I do the same thing every month. You too can do that. So here's the problem. We all grew up very independent, right? We valued that. And the challenge in the world today is we just never grew up with conflict resolution communication skills. We never did. Nobody teaches that, right? But conflicts are rising over and over. The problem is that 70% of families are going to fight over real estate after mom and dad die. It's a major problem today. And most of it's because of the improper receiving of assets, meaning you put your assets in a trust, and the trust is the world's instruction manual to what to do with your wealth, right? Because if it's not in a trust, and if you have wealth in real estate, there's a good chance that's going to go to probate, right? Unless you do other things to get around that. But typically speaking, you're going to want to get it in the trust. Now, what's the solution? See, what you want to do is understand what trusts are. You want to read them, right? So one of your first questions is whenever you meet somebody, is the property in a trust? And if it is, do you have the trust document? And can I see it? What if you read every trust document that you could find? Well, that's what I did. I learned because I looked at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these trusts. I know where to go to look for information that I need. So anytime somebody comes up to me and I say they're thinking of selling and it's in the trust, I ask them, where's the trust document? They say, here it is. I don't know what this looks like. I can flip through within seconds, I can find exactly where it means they have the ability to sell, right? Because if you don't do that, ladies and gentlemen, you're signing a listing agreement that could be fraudulent, right? Because if it's in the trust, you have to find out who has the authority to sign on behalf of the trust. See, the trust is an entity. It's a protective bucket, right? And in that, it'll tell you who has the rights to speak on behalf of the trust. And what the trust is going to do is going to tell you the instruction manual of what to do when I'm gone, right? So there's terminology that you're going to want to learn. That's really important. There's types of trust you're going to want to learn. This is all in our group coaching class. We're going to explain that as well. And then you're going to understand that there's a ton of problems that they're going to have, and that can be created, which is a problem, and your job is to provide solutions. So your goal is really to help the grantors, the person who owns the property, to understand what their options are in transferring it. That's your goal. Your second goal is helping the trustees, the person who have the responsibility for the trust, to understand what their responsibilities are, right? And then there's the beneficiaries. Right. So what is a trust? It's a fiduciary response relationship between one party called the grantor. Think of the grantor as the owner, right? Gives a second party a trustee, right? The trustee has the right to hold and direct the property and its assets. Well, typically the grantor is the trustee until they get to a point where they can no longer do that for themselves. Then they're going to have a successor trustee when they pass away, or they're going to have a power of attorney for themselves. The power of attorney is the document that you need when somebody's alive, right? When they're alive and they're a trustee, the power of attorney says, you're giving somebody else the power to speak on their behalf, right? To do their job, right? And that's the way that works. Now, they do this for the sole benefit of all third-party beneficiaries, right? Beneficiaries are typically their kids. Sometimes it's an entity. You won't know until you find out and you read the trust document. So 3 people, right? You've got the grantor, you've got the trustee, and you got the beneficiaries. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, what it is it's an instruction manual. It tells you how to distribute the money, the assets, while the person's alive and after they're gone, right? After they're gone. Most of the time it's instructions for after they're gone. Sometimes it happens instructions before they're gone, right? So you want to read them and you want to meet with trust attorneys and you want to ask a ton of questions. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you own real estate and you don't have a trust, my suggestion is you get one. You're going to learn this on your own. They're not cheap. It could be a couple $1,000s to $10,000 or $20,000, depending on the size of your estate. Right? Depends on how complicated your wealth and assets are. So it just depends. It's going to be different for everyone, right? But it is something that if you don't have a trust, it's going to get to probate likely. Now, the benefit of the trust, as it says, is it's going to avoid probate. If it's in the trust, you won't go to probate, right? Your successor trustee will be the person upon your demise that will fulfill the wishes of your trust, right? So communication is kind of important, right? And that's where the breakdown happens. Many folks don't communicate, and there's a whole conversation we have around that to make sure that they understand their choices of how they deal with their trust. Now, the reason why you don't want to have probate, because it's costly. It's tens of thousands of dollars. You're going to have to likely hire an attorney. You're going to have to go to court. It's time consuming and it's stressful, right? Nobody wants to go face a judge. Nobody wants to have all of their information public. That's the biggest problem. Wealthy people do not want to know, they don't want the rest of the world to know how much wealth they have, right? But if it's not in a probate, it's going to be public, right? And it's going to be times. Now, you could protect your assets from the creditors as well. It'll dictate the terms of the inheritance. You could put in the trust, this person gets these assets when they do this, right? When they graduate college or when they take a drug test or whatever you want. You can create customized, everything's customized to you, So you can make it exactly what you want, right, in your trust. And some people have very, very complicated ones, and many of them are very just straightforward. Right? And it could also avoid and minimize estate taxes if you're using irrevocable trusts, right? So there's revocable trusts and irrevocable trusts. Um, I think this, and we don't have enough time to get into it today, but you'll want to learn the difference. If you find somebody that has an irrevocable trust, typically they have them for two reasons. Well, let me back up. Revocable trust means that I can change it at any time. I can change my instructions anytime. Irrevocable trust says once I sign that document, you can never change it. Okay, so that's kind of scary for most folks. So most people have a revocable trust. RLT, revocable living trust. That's typical. It's not common to have irrevocable trust, but in two cases, you'll see that. Number one, if they don't have wealth and they're trying to protect it from Medicaid. See, because once your assets go into irrevocable trust, it's not considered part of your estate. The second reason why people use irrevocable trust is if they're beyond the estate tax limits in your state and in the federal government, right? I think it's 14 million today, 14.75 million in the federal government. Every state's going to be different. And our state of Hawaii is 5.2 million, which means up to 40% of all that wealth, once you exceed those thresholds, you're going to be paying to the government. Well, if you put it in an irrevocable trust, you protect it from that, right? And so it'll go back to your heirs. So things to understand. And some of you might be thinking, wow, this is just way too much information for me. And it is a lot. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to up your game, if you want to differentiate yourself, if you want to deal with people with wealth and people with wealthy real estate, you're going to want to learn this. You see, when I started in real estate, that was my goal. I want to spend all my time with the wealthy older adult because they're going to have problems that I can solve. And now I'm solving them in a big way. And now most of our business comes from referrals because I have more knowledge than pretty much everybody in my marketplace on how do you build, protect, and transfer wealth. Okay. That can be you as well. It took me 19 years to learn it. I'm delivering it in training that you can learn it in literally months to years, right? So understanding probate is the real solution. Understanding, did I pass one? I'm sorry. So when people go to probate, they go there because frankly, they didn't protect it. It wasn't in a trust. Why wasn't it in a trust? They were never instructed to do so. They didn't know, right? So if some of you have real estate, have multiple pieces of real estate and it's not in a trust, it's not your fault. You just didn't get educated, right? So now's the time to get educated, right? And you want to understand what happens. And what happens is it's going to go to probate. So what you want to learn about probate are a lot of technical terms, the terminology of it, the types of probate. You got a contested and an uncontested probate. Contested probates could take years and maybe never get resolved, right? We have one in our state of Hawaii, that's the most prominent probate case. One of my friends who's an attorney has been fighting this for, I think, 23 years now. And it's a lot of wealth. And the reason for that is when you have a contested probate, it may never, people may continue contesting it for generations. And that's what's really sad. The only people that win that, ladies and gentlemen, are attorneys. That's the only people that win. Families lose. And that's why we're on a national platform to keep families together, to teach them how they're going to build, protect, and transfer that wealth. You have to have this knowledge because without it, bad things could show up in people's worlds. And it does. We're here to help them, right? And so understand the problems that the probate can create, understands how to avoid it. How do you avoid it? You got to do it in a trust document, right? And understanding the probate process. What happens? If I want to sell a property, can I sell it? Well, it just depends. I can't tell you that. It just depends. Likely, yes. And it depends on where it is in the process, right? So what we want to do is we want to help them go through the probate process. And that's the biggest thing that we do is help people in times of need. You know, we get calls all the time saying, my mom and dad passed away. I want to sell my house. And 3 times within 3 weeks, the property was not in trust. And the people who were trying, the kids who are the surviving heirs, thought that they could just sell it and take their money, and they can't. It has to go through a probate process. Fortunately, we have attorneys that we've been working with for years that are experts in this. So imagine this: somebody calls me and says, I want to sell. I say, ooh, it doesn't look like it's in a trust. Was it in a trust? They go, what's that? Well, it looks like they held it in their name. And they go, yeah, it was. Well, this is going to have to go through the probate process. Do you know what that is? They go, no. Would you like some help? Yes. Okay. So we guide them to the attorney and we get the listing signed, right? It'll take a while. It could take months, sometimes years to go through. If it's uncontested, I've had them go through in a matter of weeks. If it's uncontested, if it's a contested probate where there's people fighting over wealth, that's where the problem comes, right? So how can you prevent family disputes with investment properties? And then what are your options in dividing it? You see, we've all heard of families fight over real estate, right? And you kind of wonder, well, why does that happen? And most people say, well, it's because of greed. People are greedy. I said, yeah, that could be part of it. But you know what the real source of the problem is? Wealthy people put their property in a trust, right? And so my question is, for those of you who have a trust, here's your homework for today. Go and read your trust. And I want you to tell me what it says upon your demise, who gets what. And you know what most of them will tell you? If you have 3 kids, you 3 kids share the wealth. Well, how do you share wealth with real estate? You can't. You have to sell it, right? And that's the problem, because I ask older adults, are all your kids alike? They go, no. Do they think alike? No. Do they act alike? No. Are they in the same economic phase of life? No. So what you're doing is you're putting in business with the most amount of wealth they've ever seen in their life, and they don't agree. And you're dead. How's that going to work for you? Right? I always ask them at the end of the day, when your kids are, when you're gone, do you want your kids to love each other? And everybody says, of course I do. So how are you going to get to that? How are you going to get to that goal? Knowing that they're going to have to argue and fight over the real estate. And they go, oh no, I have a problem. Yeah, we can help you with that. Would you like a solution? Yes. Great. Here's what it looks like. Mom has let's call this for round numbers, a $4 million property. I just came from the Bay Area, so I'm going to use those kind of Bay Area numbers, right? I came from Beverly Hills, Santa Barbara, San Francisco, big numbers. So let's just, for round mathematical numbers, it's a $4 million asset. Mom's a widow, dad's passed, 4 kids are there. Well, mom's saying, I just saw my nieces and nephews fight over my sister's property when she died, and I don't want that. So she comes to me and she says, what do I do? I said, well, my first question to her is, do you need the income from this investment property to sustain the life you desire? See, if the answer is yes, I'm going to go measure that asset with an asset performance test. And I'm going to define its performance level. And then if it's low, I'm going to show her another property that has greater return on its cash on cash return. If you could sell this and buy this and make more money, would you? Yes. Now you got to sell and a buy. Okay. It's that simple. Now, in this case, we're saying mom says, I have more money than I need. I'll never spend the money. I don't need the money from the asset. And so I ask her at the end of the day, when you're gone, who's going to get that? And she goes, oh, my kids are going to share it. So I say, okay, well, would you want to wait till you're dead to give it to them? Or if you could bless them today, would you? And they go, well, I'd like to bless them today. Great. What we do is we sell the $4 million asset. We buy 4 properties for $1 million each, right? But here's the cool thing about this. Mom's doing a 1031 exchange. It's selling it in mom's name. She's buying it in mom's name. But George, Lucy, Grant, and Ann, the kids, can be on the selection committee for the replacement property, because that's going to be their inheritance when mom's gone. What we've done, ladies and gentlemen, for years, we've created pre-inheritance plans. And I say pre-inheritance plans because inheritance happens when mom's dead. Mom's not dead yet, right? You don't own it yet. Mom owns it. But what if you could co-own it with her? You can. See, if one of the kids wants to buy a $2 million property and he gets $1 million of blessings from mom on her 1031 exchange, George could co-own it with mom and have a $2 million property. He got $1 million down payment from mom. He takes the mortgage out for the rest. Huh. What if you could co-own it? Well, you can't. When mom passes away, it gets to the kids tax free. Ladies and gentlemen, the number one enemy to generational wealth is capital gains taxes. As a realtor, if you want to elevate your business, your knowledge, your clients, your referrals, you want to master capital gains taxes and you want to master cash on cash returns. This is where the wealthy have their money, in real estate. If you're in real estate, which I believe you are, you could be either in the middle of this whole transfer of $70 trillion of transfer of wealth, or you can be on the outside looking in. Your choice. You get to choose. So I'm here to inspire you to take action because, people say, hey, that sounds great. Yeah, I'll do that one day. If you don't, how do you get to better without going to change? You can't get to better. My suggestion is you're going to have to change what you do. You have to change the conversations you have. You have to change the knowledge base that you have, always studying and getting smarter in the areas that the wealthy people need from us, right? Need from us. We even had a story of a professional athlete surrounded by wealth advisors spending millions of dollars. They sold an investment property and nobody asked them about their capital gains taxes. Hence, he paid money on 1031. I mean, he paid capital gains taxes on these properties, but they didn't have to. See, if you're selling an investment property, ladies and gentlemen, bad on you if you don't ask the simple question, do you understand your capital gains tax consequence? In fact, we ask that to everybody, whether they're selling their primary residence or in their investment property. Because in my world, my goal is to eliminate capital gains tax. I want to create strategies such that they do. Now, what if you could say that to people in your marketplace? My goal is to eliminate capital gains tax. Do you think you might attract some people with gain, some people that don't know how to avoid it? Absolutely. That's why they come to us, because we have knowledge enough to do that, right? And we have plans and experience and hundreds of people that we've served. I've done over 300 1031 exchanges. I've never failed one. We've been teaching 1031 exchange for 19 years now in our marketplace, and now we do it every single month. It's a good portion. I would say it's probably about 40 to 60%, depending on the month, of our number of listings that we have of our business. Now, as we come to an end here, you have an opportunity. I would suggest you take your phone out, click on the QR code, make sure that works. This is how you get information. For $199, a one-time fee, you get 4 classes, you get 4 hours, one of which will be about trust. We start with understanding the wealthy older adult market, how to approach them. Then we focus on senior relocation services. Then we talk about 1031 exchange, DSTs, and legacy planning. Then we focus on wills, trusts, and probate, right? And how do you attract those listings? And how do you secure them, right? So if you have your phone, click on that, and I'm going to switch off here. Any questions? Because we kind of ran out of time here today. No? Kapil, do you see any questions?
Yeah, so Patrick Nation, he's asking, how can we get leads for probate and trust sales?
Oh, that's great. How do you get leads for, so there are 2 different things, right? Probate and trust. Trust sales is simple because at any time somebody passes away, guess what? They're likely going to sell their home. They're likely going to sell their home. If they're not going to live in it, they will likely sell it because it has to be split up between family members. How do you get that business? You train and you educate, right? You first know it yourself. Second, you deliver this message and train other people. Our class that I'm teaching tonight is called I'm a Trustee, Now What? I'm a trustee, now what? And we put it out there to the world and we fill it every month. Why? Why are people coming? Because either they are the older adult with a trust that's worried about their kids, or they're the kids that's worried about mom and dad and their siblings fighting. Either way, they're going to show up because it's a lot of wealth in real estate. And here's the cool thing about it. If they don't own real estate, they're not coming. They're only coming if they own real estate. So you've already qualified them, right? So you've got a qualified person that comes in. That's one area. The other is lead generate for businesses, which what I mean by that is the three questions you want to ask every person you know is who's your trust attorney, who's your CPA, and who's your financial planner. And then you want to go call them all. And then you want to go ask them questions. And then you want to dig deep and build relationships, because when you do build these relationships and you give people referrals, they reciprocate, right? So about 75% of our business today is either past client sphere or referral, because we built this huge network of people that are going to be giving advice to either the surviving heirs, the trustees, or they're giving it to the older adult who's building a trust. So imagine this. If you ask everybody that question, and let's say for everybody who buys a home or even has a home, and you pull up their records and you see it's held under their name, and you ask them, do you understand what happens in the event you pass away? They go, no. What happens? It's going to go to probate, and here's what it looks like. Is that something you want? They go, no. Would you like me to help you with that? They say, yes. Well, I can connect you to a trust attorney. See, we're referring business every day, ladies and gentlemen, to trust attorneys and CPAs and financial planners. Why? Because we're asking questions that no other realtor is asking, right? We're completely separating ourselves from the rest of the industry, who is very transactional. In our KW Real Estate Planner community, we teach you how to be the advocate. We teach you how to be the consultant that guides people down a journey of building, protecting, and transferring wealth. We are no longer a transactional commodity that says, hey, I'm great, I sold this many homes, and here's my marketing. That's what everybody else does. We show up with information that, in questions, that gets them to think, right? In the area of probate, what if you knew all the probate attorneys like we do? What if you give those probate attorneys business and you take them to lunch? They're going to start sending you business, right? So that's how we do that. Hopefully that helps. Sorry, we're out of time. I'm actually over limit. And any last questions, Kapil? We're
So
7 minutes.
there are a couple of you. However, please guys, send us an email at fasttrack@kw.com and we'll reach out to you as soon as possible. So there is one last question, Dan, and this is
Yeah.
regarding your seminar. What is your form advertising for this, like for your seminar? And do you advertise on social media, or how do you network through CPA, trust professional, and financial planners?
Yes to all of the above. One of the things that you're going to want to listen to Gary, and when he told me that when I first came to the company, was it 12 or 13 years ago? He said, feed your database and touch it regularly. Feed your database and touch it regularly. What does that mean? Build your database. So when I came to the company 12 years ago, our database was just over 2,000. It's now 20,000, right? Imagine if you have data and you have contact information, you can actually reach them. Today, most of our people that are coming to our seminars are from email, because what we're doing is we're now scrubbing the email. Maybe Kapil, put in the prop stream code in here for the last bonus for them. Here's your last bonus. It's a prop stream code. You can use it for free, I think, for 7 days. We use this all the time to get information. What we're doing is we're picking people over the age of 65 that own homes for more than X number of years, that have high equity and are over a certain price point. For us, it's $1 million, right? And we're sending mailers there. We're scrubbing their data. We're pulling the data out of that. And now we're reaching out to them via email and snail mail, right? And we haven't even started the calls yet because we're so busy now. We don't actually have time to make those calls. They're just coming in that fast. You can do this yourself when you have a value you can share. So I wouldn't get ahead of myself saying I'm going to go get all these people and bring them to a room unless you are prepared to deliver something that's magical, that will give them a compelling reason to use you, because it could backfire on you if you don't look so good. And that's what we do in our community. You get the slide decks of everything that's worked. You get videos of me actually doing it. You get the mailers, you get the marketing, you get everything that we do for $199 a month. So if that's something of interest, feel free to click on that, and we'd love to see you on there. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I got to run to my next meeting. Thank you all. For those of you who are in New York and New Jersey, in April, I'm going to come out to see you. I'll be in New York on 8th and 9th. I'll be in New Jersey on 10th and 11th of April. Look forward to seeing you all. We're doing a 5-hour training class. You're going to learn the best questions to ask to get appointments and agreements. So I look forward to seeing you all. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Aloha.